Learn Excel from Mr. Excel podcast, episode 2184, Sum All Lookups. Hey, welcome back to the Mr. Excel netcast. I'm Bill Jelen. Today's question from Ron about using the old lookup program. And this is from my book, Excel 2016 in Depth. Let's say that we had a bunch of products here and we had to use a lookup table. And for each product, we had to get the value from the lookup table and sum that. All right. Well, the typical way is we use VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP for this product in this table. I'll press F4 to lock that down. And I want the second value. And in this particular case, because every single value that we're looking up is in the table and the table is sorted, it's safe to use true. All right. Normally, I would never use true, but in this episode, we're going to use true. So I get all of those values, and then down here, Alt equals, we get a total of those. All right, but what if our whole goal is just to get the 1130? We don't need all these values. We just need this result. Well, okay, now there's an old function that's been around since the days of Visical called lookup, not VLOOKUP, not HLOOKUP, just lookup. And it seems at first similar to VLOOKUP. You specify what value you're looking up and the lookup table. Press F4. But then we're done. We don't have to specify which column because lookup just goes to the last column in the table. If you had a 7-column table and you want to look up the fourth value, you would just specify columns 1 through 4. All right, and so whatever the last column is what it's going to look up. And we don't have to specify comma false or comma true because it always uses comma true. There is no comma false version. All right, so you have to understand, if you're doing a VLOOKUP, I always use comma false at the end, but in this case, it's a short list. We know that everything in the list is in the table. There's nothing missing, and the table is sorted. All right, so this will get us the exact same result that we have for the VLOOKUP. Awesome. I want to copy this down. Alt equals. All right, but that doesn't buy us anything because we still have to put all the formulas in and then the sum function. The beautiful thing is, lookup can do a trick that VLOOKUP cannot do, right? And that is to do all of the lookups at once. So we're going to send this to the sum function. We're going to say lookup. What's the lookup value? We want to look up all of these things, comma, and then here's the table. And we don't have to press F4 because we're not going to copy this anywhere. There's only one formula. Close the sum, or close the lookup, close the sum. All right, now here's the place where things can get screwed up. If you simply press enter here, you're going to get 60, right? Because it's just going to go do the first one. What you have to do is hold down the magic 3 keystrokes, and this is Control and Shift. I'm holding down Control and Shift with my left hand. I keep holding those down, and I press enter with my right hand, and it will do all of the math of VLOOKUP. Isn't that awesome? Notice in the formula bar up here or in the formula text, it puts curly braces around it. You don't type those curly braces. Excel puts those curly braces in to say, hey, you pressed Control, Shift, Enter for this. Now, hey, this topic and a lot of other topics are in this book, Power Excel with Mr. Excel, the 2017 edition. Click that I up there in the top right-hand corner to read more about the book. Today, question from Ron. How can you sum all of the VLOOKUPs? Now, most people know the VLOOKUP where you specify the lookup value, the table, which column, and then comma true or comma false. And if you qualify for the true version of VLOOKUP, then you can also do this old lookup. It's odd because it returns the last column of the table. You don't specify a column number, and you don't say true or false. It's always true. Why would we use this? Because it has a special trick. You can do all of the lookup values at once, and it will sum them. You have to press Control Shift Enter after typing that formula, or it won't work. And then in the outtake, I'll show you another trick for lookup. Well, hey, I want to thank Ron for sending that question in, and I want to thank you for stopping by. We'll see you next time for another netcast from Mr. Excel. All right, while we're here talking about lookup, the other thing that lookup can do, we have VLOOKUP for a vertical table like this, or HLOOKUP for a horizontal table like this. Lookup can go either way. So we can say, hey, we want to look up this value, D, in this table, and because the table is wider than it is tall, lookup automatically switches over to the HLOOKUP version, right? So in this case, because we're specifying 3 rows by 5 columns, it will do the HLOOKUP. And because the last row here are the numbers, it will bring us that number. So we have D, date, gets us 60. All right. if I would specify a table that only went to row 12, then I would get the name of the product instead. All right, so it's kind of an interesting little function. I think Excel help you to say, hey, don't use this function, but there's certain times where you can use this function.